Good afternoon. I'm Brent Wilsey, and yes, it's Friday afternoon. You're listening to the Smart Investing Briefing. Today, now, if you're in your 30s or 40s, you could be in something called the sandwich generation. And this is something that is really very difficult. And if you're in that generation, you need to first know you're in it and then be realistic.
Yeah, I mean, it could even be people in their 50s and 60s, and what it is, it's these people that are taking care of their kids going to college. That, first of all, can be a big problem for people who will typically overextend themselves, forget about their own retirement. The thing is, college can be financed, retirement typically cannot. But then the other side of it, people typically forget, we have your aging parents.
Yep.
Like, oh, my parents will be fine. Some of them don't know that they might be on the hook, or they feel the obligation to take care of your parents. And I say you got to be realistic. If your parents need help, don't damage your own financial future just to help them.
And Chase, what's surprising too is that a lot of people don't know they're in that. About 50% say, oh my gosh, I didn't know I was part of that. And it's just a terrible thing to be in because you didn't plan for it. And all of a sudden you hit it with a surprise. You have to understand what you're in. And 68% provide support for their parents. Financially. So
yes. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are just helping their parents, but majority of them are giving money to their parents to help them through that difficult time period. And it is a big group of people. About a third of the population now has taken on this role to help their parents through that retirement phase where they might be lacking some additional financial funds. And the big thing is, I can't stress enough, you have to be prepared, because if you're just thrust into this role, well, typically that's when you make the poor decisions. You might be saying, oh my gosh, I got another job, or it's okay, I'll pull from my IRA to help fund my parents' retirement or fund their needs. That's when you run into big problems. Brings us to our next point. So important to have open dialogue with your parents about the finances. Difficult thing to do, but if you're that parent, talk to your kids about it. If you're that kid, you have to, I don't want to say kid because they're adult children now.
Adult children, yes.
You have to talk with your parents about what's going on financially.
And I've talked about that for years. You've got to talk to your parents. And it's not the easy conversation to have because many times your parents say, I don't want to talk about it. But you have to try to talk about it because the fact if you don't know what's going on. And maybe if you talk early enough with them, you can maybe have plans you can do. But some of the top costs are going to include medical supplies, food for your parents, personal care. I mean, other expenses. You got their clothes. I mean, if your parents did not do a good job planning for their retirement, they're going to need, simple things like clothes and food. It's a terrible situation to be in.
Yeah, and the other one people typically forget about, transportation.
Oh, yeah.
I hate to say it, but older people, what is their top time consumer? Going to the doctor's office.
Going to the doctor's office.
You got to pay for that transportation there. And the other one that kind of sneaks up on people is professional advising fees. That comes from, lawyers, accountants, perhaps financial advisors. If you're covering that for your parents, you need to meet with these advisors. You need to know what's going on. Not even when you're covering it for your parents. You still need to be in touch with those people.
And I do want to point out when you go to those advisors, be very careful because if they start trying to sell you, some brokers out there, they're not that scrupulous. Well, they'll try to do that to you. If you get that feeling that they're trying to get your account, you may want to consider wait, this is not right because you want to talk to them. They should be more interested in your parents, what you're doing with them, as opposed to trying to get your account. I know brokers try to do that. So
I was going to say, kind of a red flag as you go in and they say, well, what do you have?
Yes.
It should be, again, more about your parents, not your situation.
Right.
But it is important to make that contact because you will work with them during that process. So you got to trust them and trust your parents as well.
All right. Well, if you're in the sandwich generation, I hope that helps. If you have any questions, give us a call, comment. We're here to help you out.